Last year was probably the most unusual, risky, uncertain, volatile year in my whole life.
Kate, you bring in people who really made a significant impact on you and especially supported you in this last year.
I was even thinking of the tagline of the last year and what are the 3 words that can describe it. And these 3 words were all words that start with C. And these words are consistency, commitment, and courage. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Growthmates. If you have been here before, you already know that usually this is the place where we learn from inspiring growth leaders from other companies who are building the best products that we use every day. But today we have something different. Today I invited my ex-colleague and my dear friend, Lana Kul, to actually interview me. And for me, it's a very, very special moment and quite a vulnerable conversation where I would like to share my end of year reflection with you, and it will be happening on the go. So I'm feeling pretty nervous, but also very excited about that. And I hope that this format that I'm actually using for the last several years will help you reflect on your results, to plan your next year. So it's going to be not just about me, but it's going to be also useful for you. And on that note, I also want to announce that this is going to be the last episode of Growthmates in this season. And the new season will come next year, hopefully end of January. And it will be dedicated to the topic that is very, very special to my heart. It's going to be Growthmates in the company of women, when I'm going to take interviews from fantastic women leaders like Elena Verna, founders of different product companies, and more people. And this is going to be probably my favorite season so far. And now, finally, Lena, thank you so much for coming today. Thank you so much for being open to take this interview from me. And you're one of the people who I really trust. And now mic is yours. So do whatever you want. Ask me any questions. So I'm ready to dive in.
This is awesome, Kate. Thank you so much for having me. And it's such a huge pleasure and honor as well. Ask you some questions and finally hear your story as well. I'm a huge Growthmates fan, as you might have seen from my Spotify rap. So I'm looking forward to asking you some questions. And I think the first question that I personally really want to know, how do you feel? How do you feel being on the other side?
You know, I'm sometimes practicing that. I'm going to other podcasts. I think I've done it like a couple of weeks ago, and it always feels so weird. At the same time, I love doing that because it's like, you have been doing user research, right? A lot. And it's like wearing yourself in the shoes of a customer. And it really helps me understand better how to do the podcast. So how do you feel as a person who is going to be like answering all of these questions? So I feel good. I feel strange, but let's do it.
Absolutely. I love that. Cool. Well, Kate, obviously many of us read the article that you recently posted that you celebrated 1 year of being a solopreneur. And I loved seeing you blossom from this powerful, corporate, very driven, leader in design, going into your own path and really creating your own path. You've been a huge inspiration. So I want to understand, looking back and reflecting, what are those most meaningful results that you see and that you've created for yourself in the last year?
Oh, yeah, it's a huge question, right? So you've seen my article about that, and definitely last year was probably the most unusual, risky, uncertain, volatile year in my whole life. At the same time, I have never felt better. This is counterintuitive, right? I love that you asked me first about results because usually the framework or like the approach that I'm using for this end of year reflection starts from that. So there are 5 elements of that approach, and we will share it with everybody else who would like to do that for themselves. So the first element is like results, what you have done, what you recall looking back. The second one is my favorite one, about gratefulness. So what are the things you are grateful, situations, people, memories. The other element is also super important, is goodbyes. And the most valuable part in saying goodbyes, it's not about people or memories, it's more about limiting beliefs. So what beliefs you would like to leave behind. And then the other fourth element is dreams. So what are you dreaming about? And the last but not the least is priorities. So you're not just dreaming, but taking action towards some of your dreams. And talking about results, I think the most memorable one is about making my own business, Growthmates. And it feels really like a homecoming. But when I was thinking about that, it doesn't feel like a homecoming. It feels like homemaking or home building, especially because I was building the website, which is like growthmates.club, with my partners during my home renovation. And it really was like happening in parallel. And I think that was probably the biggest result to recall. Not just experimenting with all of these directions that I wanted to experiment with, like advising, courses, newsletter, podcast. That was my intention last year, but really building a home for that. This is the most beautiful result, I think. The second one is about building social capital. And I'm super grateful to Growthmates podcast for that. So people I met here from fantastic companies are now my social connections. And sometimes it was difficult to continue doing this show, to find enough, time, resources, sometimes even financial, to do that. But I keep doing that because it really, like, the most important thing that I optimize for is building the social capital. It's nothing else. And the third, maybe result that I want to memorize is about something personal. It's not about professional, business related. It's about finally unlocking creativity and building self-trust so I can use that creativity in some format. I think I lost it partially in my corporate world. And it was something I was reflecting every year as a leader, like, how can I be more creative as a leader? How can I bring back some maybe hands-on work to be more creative and have fun? And I was stuck. It was not enough space for that. And now I feel I have space for that. And next year, I'm sure to share some of creative assets and something will impact even Growthmates, how it looks, how it feels. So really looking forward to sharing it. Yeah.
I personally believe that one of the most important jobs of anyone who is creating a digital product is to make the first user experience smooth, intuitive, and memorable. For that, we need to provide users with a friendly assistance throughout the whole experience, beyond just the first session. Comment AI is a user assistance platform that exists for the sole purpose of helping users. It provides a user-centric alternative to traditional pop-ups and chatbots. The first thing that I love about Comment AI is their Copilot. This is an AI support agent that can use AI to answer questions, perform actions for the user, or show them how to do some complex things with ease. The second thing that is incredibly useful are nudges. This is a great alternative to annoying pop-ups. Instead of bombarding users with too many messages, you can show them a proactive and relevant message that guides them right to the action. And you can get all of this within Comment AI as a no-code platform that product, support, and marketing teams can use to influence user behavior in a positive way while respecting their needs. Thank you again, Comment AI, for supporting this episode of Growthmates.
I really love that. Thank you so much for sharing, Kate. And I really like your narrative of, really going and grabbing that energy from your social connections and people who inspire you, but also looking for inspiration within you, which is such an underappreciated source of inspiration. Many people think that inspiration comes from somewhere else, but there's so much within us, and that creativity really comes from there as well. And, there is a reason why I didn't ask you, how you reflected, because I know you are a person who is really making the space for it and moved kind of into results right away. Because I feel, especially in the first year, it's all about the results. It's really making or breaking your name, your brand, your company. And it was amazing to see how you succeeded and really blossoming in this creative direction. However, I do want to know, having so many things, a podcast, a newsletter, you're so active on LinkedIn as well. You're obviously advising. You having any other collaboration points like courses and things. what is your way of making that space and reflecting on what you have done and what you want to do next year as well?
Absolutely. So as for plans for the next year, I think I'm still doing that. I'm still planning. I have some, pen and paper notes on that, but it's evolving. And when it comes to finding space, it's really our action. And I will be super honest. I will block off my calendar, meaning that I will not schedule any calls, any podcast recordings, anything at all for the last 2 weeks in December. So like I will just think. I will just be in that space to really, really think. Because when we do things, it's action, right? But sometimes we need space to understand what kind of next action you want to take. And for me, it doesn't work if I block 1 hour, 2 hours in my calendar. I need to block space, which means like 1 week, I need to just think. And this is the first time when I'm doing that, honestly. I didn't have that luxury previously. Can you imagine, like, in the corporate world, taking 2 weeks off just to think, just to think? I think there were some people, some leaders, some high-level leaders who I met who really did that for their business, and I can do that for my business. It's not a sacrifice. It doesn't feel like a sacrifice. It feels like it's creative time for me to invest into that. During 1 week, I will go to London and we'll celebrate Christmas, of course, and it's going to be more like holiday. But the other week is going to be here, home, in my creative surroundings, where I can really plan ahead and I can do the proper reflection of what we are trying to do now. But I will write down everything. I will have a Miro board with a lot of sticky notes there. And it's going to be quite an intense solo exercise. And usually I also try to bombard ideas or check back with people in my network on what I've planned. So I will ask some other people, what do they think? I will try to iterate on my plan. I will try to deprioritize some things. I think you're right. Like having 5 activities in parallel is too much. This is what I've realized this year as well. And I will try to make some priorities or to make a system out of what I'm doing. Yeah.
I really love that. That sounds amazing. And again, I love that you're going back to your network. So many folks are building. It's like building a product, right? You build it for your users. You want to know how potential users are feeling about it. But I also really love hearing that you're making that personal space and really time to relax. And there are so many amazing articles and TED Talks that are talking about, being bored sometimes and really relaxed. That's where your creativity comes to the top. Seeing new things and seeing the Christmas decorations never hurts. For making those plans sounds amazing. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of it as well.
Me too.
I can imagine. Can you bring people who are important to you and people who kind of, surround you all the time in each answer that I'm asking you? I'm curious if you were to highlight a couple of people who really made a significant impact on you and especially supported you in this last year. Who are those people?
Lena, I feel so grateful to so many people. And I think I've wrote a post about my 13 learnings after first year in the solopreneurship journey. And I've mentioned, I think, 15 people, and it didn't feel enough. So I mentioned everyone I met literally who supported me, who connected me to someone on this podcast for advisory collaborations for something that turned out to be a course or product. So many people. And I would recall probably Growthmates community, because all these people are connected to Growthmates somehow. They were either Growthmate guests, name everyone who were here in the last year, or they were somehow like, just knew about me, not just because I'm ex-Miro, blah, 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 but because I'm creating Growthmates. And I really started appreciating it so much. The second person, of course, is my husband. And it's, I've been listening to one podcast last week. It's The Art of Accomplishment. The Art of Accomplishment is the name of the podcast. One of my favorite podcasts. And they were talking about the support system. And we all need some support system, and we need different support systems. So my Growthmates network and LinkedIn network and people like you, Lana, you're amazing for business support system, right? So what we are doing, what we are building. Sometimes we need different other support system, like for our life, for our relationships. And I rely a lot on my husband, I think on both ends, on both fronts. And he keeps supporting me. And sometimes, having a person who really deeply understands you, we are together for 12 years. Who deeply understands you is like very important. And sometimes they just know before you know that you can do the next step. So literally, he gave me my first microphone before I started Growthmates podcast. And he bought me a book as a gift, which is called In the Company of Women, with 100 interviews of creative women. And this sparked the idea and action in me to do this season for this podcast. And I'm super grateful for having people like that in my close surrounding, and of course my husband. Thank you, Alex, so much. And the third person, I usually think of real people and some people who inspire me or help me through some other context. And sometimes these are not people we meet and talk every day. These are some strangers for us. But for me, this is a book offer. Very often, this is a book offer. And this year, I'm still reading the book. I'm trying to finish it. The book is called Women Who Run with the Wolves. And the author is Clarissa Esters. So this is like, it feels like I'm talking to a mentor through reading that book. And it's not about business advice at all. It's like about deep psychological things and stories that helps you reflect on your attitudes, on your beliefs. And the biggest theme that she unlocks in her book is about getting back to your intuition. And I have never thought how difficult it can be to get back to that intuition, how to rely on that intuition, to trust that intuition. And through these pages, like, I'm trying to learn by doing to get back to that intuition, because it feels very scary to rely on it. Even to have this conversation instead of having another B2B conversation is scary. And I'm grateful for having this opportunity to read, to reflect, to share, regardless of counting the number of views of that episode, because I think that is something that showing that I'm step by step a little bit closer and closer to my intuition. Yeah.
I love that. And I love what you're saying about different support systems, because indeed it's not one person, and it may not even be, several people. It can be a whole community who is supporting and inspiring you. But I also really love what you're saying, and kind of diving into the next question that I really want to ask. Listening to your intuition, because even though others may be supporting you, all the hard things and all the challenges and all the wins are yours, because that's your path. So anything that you are grateful for to yourself, specifically for that last year that you've experienced?
I feel so uncomfortable now because, it's like, gosh, how can I say like I'm grateful to myself? But I can, yes. After reading so much stuff about like self-worth, I can do that. I think three things. I was even thinking of the tagline of the last year and like, what are the three words that can describe it? And these three words were all words that start with C. And these words are consistency, commitment, and courage. And I'm grateful to myself to be able to really live through that values during the last year. Not just saying that I'm like that, but really doing that. So especially the first two elements, consistency and commitment. I think these two things helped me a lot in my corporate world. This is what helped me grow in my role in the company, get promoted every year. And I relied on that system again in my solo work. So from January, I've been posting a newsletter every other week. I've been releasing this podcast every 2 weeks, regardless of situations I had. And this really helped me in the way to build the home that I'm talking about, to build Growthmates as a home, as a foundation, which feels like still not solid, not good enough, but it's still something. It's already something. And the courage is the other element. Of course, Brené Brown is sharing a lot of that things in her work, but it's really about things when, you know, this phrase, when it's scary to jump, it's exactly the moment when you jump. And I've done it so many times this last year. And I wouldn't say that I'm not scared anymore. I'm extremely scared to do anything I'm doing. And but I just keep doing that from this element of just courage, of just learning, of just exploring. And this is what I'm grateful for to myself, just to be able to understand these values, that I have them, acknowledge them, that these are mine values. I can it's going to be very business language. I can operate in that value system, and having that elements really, really supported me. Exactly. Yeah.
Observing and kind of, following your journey in the last year, courage is something that I felt a lot from you as well. Like, you've been my personal, very strong inspiration because, as well, it's been a couple of days that I'm on the path as well, on my individual path. And I think, consistency and commitment is something that you cannot make it without it. It's not, it would be nice to have, it's a must have in the world. But that courage is something that's so infectious and so authentic as well. And you've been sharing that very openly with the world. And I think that's what also kind of attracted me to your community so much, and so many other folks, because your beautiful ways of reflecting and really kind of learning on the go with your community have been very inspiring in that regard.
Oh, Lana, thank you so much. When I will meet you in person, I will give you this book, In the Company of Women, that I'm reading. I'm literally reading every morning a couple of stories because there are 100 stories there and I don't have a lot of time before my podcast next season. And I'm reading sometimes oh my God, stories that are just shocking. Like, you're building some sort of physical and digital business in a new country, and they are like doing it alone, and all these learnings, all these things they are overcoming through. It feels like it feels impossible, but there are real people who are documented stories about that. And this is exactly, I think, what I want to do next year with the show, with the Growthmates in the Company of Women. It's not gonna be it's going to be this season. I don't want to dedicate the entire Growthmates to that theme, but I would like to talk to people in our communities, because sometimes we listen to these conversations in other worlds, like in creative world, in physical world, building physical products, but we cannot relate to them so deeply. I want to talk to people or women like Marie, who is a co-founder of Tally.so, my favorite product for forms these days, how they built the company from scratch just with her husband, and now they are bootstrapped with millions of ARR, and how they build a family in the parallel, 2 kids, living not in the US but in Belgium, which is isolated from the community of founders. So I just want to talk to women like that, who build that, who mixed priorities like family and business, and tell their stories to encourage, right? I don't like this word, but no, I love it because it's about courage, right? To encourage others to step in, to jump where it's scary to jump, right? And feels so good.
That sounds amazing. I'm looking forward to this season. We've talked about it before, and I feel we all need something like that to really kick off the year. Next year seems to be a big year for sure. However, looking at this year as well, and I do want to kind of dive in 1 year of being solopreneur. I can imagine there have been a lot of challenges and difficult moments. If you were to pick up a couple that really shaped you and you learned those like life lessons from them, what are those moments?
Oh, yeah, I will have way more when I will sit down for a week and write down all this stuff. But I think I have never experienced so many situations of rejection in my life, because I've started from the advisory part in my business when I was like, and still communicating that I'm a growth advisor, but Growthmates became way more than just that. And it's not about rejections in a way that you are doing the interview and you got rejected. I haven't been interviewing to full-time roles anyways, but it's more about things that just don't work out as you have planned, right? It's the situation of the rejection, like something just didn't work out. And I have encountered this so many times that at some point I just realized that the level of uncertainty in my head that I'm used to is dramatically lower than the actual level of uncertainty in the business world. And I need to navigate this level in my head so I can feel more comfortable with that higher level of uncertainty, even higher. And now I'm just taking as a rule, like, everything is unpredictable. You cannot rely on any situation. You cannot prevent the future. And accepting that as a norm is way better, because then when something is working out, I'm happy with that. I'm like, "Ooh, this is nice," because usually it shouldn't be like that. Everything should be uncertain and chaos and this is not what you're used to when you're in corporate setup. You're used to stable income, stable team, stable priorities, and now everything is just like moving crazy. So this is the first learning and the first difficult, like it's not just one situation. There were, oh my God, like several dozens of these situations during the year. So this was the first maybe learning. The second learning was connected to my ways of working and overworking that I adopted from my also corporate world, that I couldn't just stop sometimes. Like it felt like in work setup, you have boundaries. You have like, I don't know, sometimes everybody is leaving the office and then it's strange if you are not leaving the office after a couple of hours. And here, if you're working on something you're passionate about and you don't have these boundaries, external boundaries, and your internal boundaries are still not too strong, you're overworking like many times. And I have been in that situation several times last year. And I soon realized like I can do that. I can achieve amazing results like that. But my creative potential, as I've talked about this before, will be on zero. Like I could be absolutely uncreative, the quality of my time will be extremely low. And I need to optimize for the quality of my time, because I have, let's say, 3 or 5 clients in parallel. They pay me a quite significant amount of money. So I need to come to them prepared, and I need to have 1 hour of extremely valuable conversations with them about their business to make serious decisions. And if I'm low energy, this is not good. This is not good. So this is why I really started thinking about my boundaries, like reading a lot about that, trying to maintain them, trying to protect them, and define them. So, and I'm still doing that, but I'm way better than last year with boundary system. And the third maybe moment I recall, it was summertime. It was like before summertime when I felt very stuck. So, you just started this business January, super energized, tried everything, planned some collaborations. Some of them worked out, some of them didn't. And then before summertime, you feel still so uncertain. Nothing is really planned. And then this seasonality happens. And you just don't know about that. You don't know that it's fine. You haven't been prepared for that. And I learned that in the situations of being stuck, I cannot be stuck. Every day I wake up with the feeling like I need to do something. I need to change something. I need to iterate on something. And this is feeling of being stuck really pushed, I think, the ceiling, because it helped me create the Growthmates.club website with the holistic growth playbook that is going to be turned into the course next year. A little spoiler, but it really it enabled this energy, of feeling stuck. It's negative energy, but it's very strong energy. And if you invest that into creativity, like, which is ridiculous, but it can unpack a big thing, like really big thing that will change everything. And in my case, it didn't change dramatically everything, but it created a home for anything else I'm doing. And Growthmates.club now is like the foundation on top of which I'm building. And it appeared from this unpleasant situation, honestly.
I really love that. I love your narrative of turning negatives into positives, which quite often happens in life, right? You get the best results out of those very painful sometimes situations. And I do want to ask a follow-up question here because you turned this feeling of being stuck into this creativity and motivation to create something that you're very well known for right now. How did you turn this around? How did you recognize being like, okay, this is my opportunity and I'm gonna, follow up on that?
This is interesting that you have mentioned like you're known for that. I realized that because people started telling me about this. Kate, it looks like your LinkedIn posts are so nice. What are you doing? Who is designing them for you? These visuals, why Growthmates look so good? And I just realized, hey guys, I'm coming from product design background. And even if I'm building a business or a product or a growth advisory practice because of my expertise, I'm still doing it with the mentality and with the craft quality I have been learning for years. And I think we can also quote David Hong, who said, like, just select the thing you want to do and do it like a designer. And this is what I just started doing. And this became a differentiator in a way. So I can be a growth advisor per se, or I can be a growth advisor through user experience and through visual and design craft. So I just thought of that as a differentiator. And it's beautiful that it's not a differentiator that sometimes it's very tricky, because sometimes the world knows you for some credibility that you have built in the past that you don't want anymore. For example, I've been known like as a person who, my whole life actually, I've been known as a technical person because I had all good grades for mathematics, programming, all these technical disciplines. But now I'm not relying on that technical element as my strongest thing, because I can be that expert, but I'm not enjoying it that much. I'm enjoying going to museums and looking at visual art. And now I'm thinking, oh gosh, how to combine it with my B2B service providing. And it's not clear yet how, but I'm on my way to defining it.
This is awesome. Finding what makes you feel inspired about your work, but also making that your differentiator. I think that's where authenticity online really comes through. And it's so hard to find that authenticity. So this is pretty awesome that you found the way to go back to the roots and also show.
Still on my way.
It's always work in progress. It would not be as fun if it was a complete picture after just 1 year. Talking about complete pictures, we're kind of talking what you've achieved over that 1 year. Any big dreams that also came to you that you want to accomplish in the following years?
Ooh, Lena, my favorite part. In this framework, just to remind our listeners how it will be looking, because I think we will share some sort of one-pager in Notion where it can be a little bit more structured, like results, gratefulness, goodbyes, and the fourth one is dreams. Yeah. And since I'm doing it for the last 3 years, the first time when you're doing this exercise is like really go nuts and write a list of 30 dreams. 30. And I think when I started writing that list, I wrote probably 5 dreams and I was stuck. Like, what's next? But you need to push your boundaries again and write really like a list of 30 dreams in different areas. And I have that list, and I'm revisiting that list every year by sometimes I'm just crossing things that I'm not dreaming anymore. Not because I achieved that, but because it doesn't matter anymore. And sometimes I add new things. Yeah. So this year, I think because Growthmates became the thing, I'm dreaming a lot about Growthmates' future, and I'm dreaming about making it a place for others to learn through different sources, formats, get inspired, build connections, build meaningful products through resources they get there. So I'm dreaming about making it a bigger thing then. So the second or the other dream, I'm dreaming about meeting more people and self-aware founders, solopreneurs, people who inspire me back, to get back from the community. And this is why I love building this podcast. It's the best way to connect through that format. I'm dreaming about building a family bigger than just us, just thinking about the family as a goal, as a longer term goal. I realized career is a career. It's amazing. I invested a lot of energy into that and I keep doing that. But I think the family and the priority of family dramatically increased during the last year for me. Yeah. And longer term, I'm also dreaming of reinvesting into some formats or businesses that reflect my value system, like self-awareness, yoga, nutrition, education, these areas. I would love to be able to build the capital for that. Still on my way, but hopefully I can do that in the big longer term future. And it's about traveling. I had a lot of dreams in my list in a couple of years about traveling. Like, I want to visit this country and I want to be there and here and there. And last year I realized it's less about number. It's more about the focus and more about how you concentrate and notice things when you are traveling. And last year, what I uncovered, I had one memorable trip, which was 3 weeks, pretty long, to Japan. And I'm still reflecting and still processing. It's been in March and now it's December. I'm still processing memories from that trip. And I didn't want to travel to another country for the same amount of time because I really wanted to live through that experience I gained from Japan trip. And it's more about, for me now, like sort of conscious traveling or maybe concentrated traveling when you really can spend time there, process. You can plan upfront. I've been planning that trip 2 months before it happened and I'm still processing what happened. And maybe finding some cultures or areas in the world where I have some intention to go there. And smaller trips, I can do that easily here in Europe. And I'm doing that. It's connected to business sometimes it's not. But big things like that, dreams out of traveling are going to be more conscious. Yeah. And of course, I have a lot of dreams, and dreaming big is my favorite part. But probably for now, that's enough. And I'm even curious to look back at this list of 30 dreams. I haven't looked back yet to see what themes I would like to deprioritize or cross there. Because I think I had a dream a couple of years ago, maybe there. It was connected to a particular career milestone, right? So becoming a VP of design somewhere or and I think I'm not on that track anymore. So I'm not dreaming about that. It doesn't feel like a dream. And sometimes companies are coming to me with these roles opportunities and I feel responsible for saying that we don't need to spend time here because I'm sure there are people who are dreaming about this job, this role in this company, and I'm not that person. And by the way, I wanted to tell a story about Growthmates' impact on that front in the last year. Can I tell that story?
Or please.
You're my host today, so I need to ask for permission. This is what helped me realize that I need to keep doing this podcast. Really, sometimes I felt very unsure about that. And that was the situation. So last year, I think during the similar time of the year, maybe earlier, yeah, maybe even more than a year ago, I recorded the Growthmates episode with Verna. She was a senior design manager at Adobe that time, and we're talking about amazing topics, work, life related, things like that. And then we didn't talk for a long time. And then the recruiter came my way with amazing opportunity, like fantastic job at a company called Grammarly. And I've said, like, I'm not currently open for full-time positions, but actually I have an idea. What if you look through my guests on Growthmates? And what if somebody can resonate or in the similar occasion, I can maybe connect you if you will need that. But just take a look, probably because this is the best network I can recommend to you. I've been looking for these people, inviting them to my show, talking about deep topics. So just give it a try. And then after a couple of months, I think I noticed the announcement that Verna joined Grammarly as a head of growth design. And then we reconnected. She reconnected with me and she told me that the recruiter actually came to her after listening to one of the Growthmates episodes, and she just said that it was very important contribution to making that decision, and even knowing that we were connected somehow with Grammarly as well helped her understand that the company is very good. So, and I felt if this is what just happened because of the fact that I've recorded this conversation and the company found the best talent and this best talent found the dream job, I will keep doing that and see where it goes, right? Because sometimes maybe something else happened, but I just don't know about that. But when these stories become visible to me, it gives me just energy, I think, to keep on doing that.
I love this story. There are like two reflections that I can get out of it. First of all, you are very creative in the ways of working. I personally am a big fan of really working with your network and creating opportunities, not just waiting for them to come. So the fact that you didn't just say, no, thank you, that's not the role for me, but you actually were like, okay, how about you check? And it came down to her. I think that's a big success story that more of us should be actually taken as an example. But I really love what you also said about this VP of design role being that it was your dream, but it's not your dream anymore, which proves again that dreams change. And that's okay as well to go with it because we change and our dreams change. And it doesn't make this dream bad dream anymore necessarily. It's just not our dream. And so I really love that you brought that and you know, that you're speaking about prioritizing and deprioritizing some of the dreams in your list.
Listening to that, I'm feeling like, gosh, can we just dream? Why we need to prioritize dreams, 30 dreams in the list, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, the thing is that it's about connecting this chaos, creativity with some practical things that can turn this creative stuff into structure, into action. And the dreams are dreams to inspire us. And I think I had this phrase from my childhood or like, I don't know, teenage age is about creating dreams and then making them come true by yourself because nobody else will do that. This is probably, I cannot rely on a chance or luck. It's more about actions. And then I think like by doing these things several times, like I was dreaming a lot about growing career-wise and then it happened. It feels better when you invested so much effort into that. And now I think sometimes at the moment of exhaustion, like sometimes I feel exhausted after certain project launches or Growthmates investments. At the moment I feel bad, like overall physically, emotionally sometimes, but I know that it's longer term. Like looking back, like right now, I will feel good because that was the investment into that dream that in eventually happened. So let's see, let's see where it will lead to, and yeah, excited about probably taking more action or effort in the directions of my dreams.
Absolutely. And I'm curious, like, since you have so many dreams, I think we all have some things that hold us back. And now you say, like, I'm excited and I have my dreams, and you will have those 2 weeks of really looking deep into yourself. any beliefs, anything rather maybe like negative or something that's been stopping you that you want to leave behind as well to achieve those dreams next year?
Oh, yeah. Um, this is my favorite part in this approach of thinking when you need to say goodbye to some limiting beliefs. But the first thing is to uncover them. And it takes time to really uncover them, to say, hello, I know you're here today and I want you to go away. And it's been a lot of work to uncover these limiting beliefs with the coaches, with mentors, with actually psychotherapists. So it's a lot of work. And I know my enemies. So I know them, I can recognize them, I can say hi and I can say goodbye to them, but they're coming back over and over. So it's about almost daily or like really conscious, regular practice. So some of them who are still with me, regardless of my effort of like kicking them out of my life, the sense of extreme control, like the part that I love just controlling a lot of things. And we talked about that fact of like accepting high level of uncertainty and just taking that as a norm. This is what helps me have conversations with that enemy. Like, really, this is beyond your control, Kate. This is under your control. And what is under my control is still reassessing. Is it really under my control, or you're thinking it's under your control? And now, like, removing stuff that are really beyond your control. Because otherwise, it created so much pressure on me over life, over years. Like, it's a lot to wear on your shoulders, so much responsibility, taking responsibility for things beyond your control, factors, external factors, this summer seasonality, and just being more kind towards you. This is the first one. The second one is about speed and about expectations that I just used to have immediate results, and I used to have them my whole life. Like, everything should work out from the first attempt. Even in growth, second iteration usually works better. Yes, I know that, but I will be still feeling sad if the first one didn't work out, And I started anticipating less immediate results, or even anticipating zero results from the first attempt. Even looking at the podcast, the consistent and commitment helped me creating that. And only after the first year, I started seeing some visible ROI things, like sponsors started coming, these things like Grammarly success story happened, but it took time. It's not immediate. It's not going to work after the first episode launch. And the third one is about my measurements. It's probably about boundaries as well, but overestimating my capacity. I've been in this situation so many times this year when I had a list, and probably I have it today as well. I have had a list, but some other things happened, and I cannot do these things today, all of them. And it's like, it's like a snowball. And I started more consciously plan my time and just using even different ways of planning my time and focus. I really plan bigger chunks of focus time, and I don't plan to do all things. I just plan to do some amount of that, like 70% of that. Still in progress, but it feels like I'm getting more in line with my more natural capacity rather than extreme unrealistic capacity. Because what I've been relying a lot in my previous career chapter probably was not realistic, not healthy, not like a human capacity. And I know, like, there are a lot of people who are sharing like productivity tips, things like that. I love this as well. But everybody has their own capacity limitations and levels and types of methods of working. And I just realized I'm not gonna stretch myself constantly. I'm gonna stretch myself at the moment when I need to be stretched. But at some moments, I'm gonna, stretch down in a way that I'm gonna recover. And it's still work in progress, but saying goodbye to overestimating my capacity. Yeah.
You might see me smiling weirdly, but I really identify.
Yeah.
Like I identify with everything you say so much. Being this, whatever I do from the first time, if it's not perfect, I failed. And there's nothing bad about failing as well. This is how we learn. But really shifting your mindset into that iteration more like thing and taking care and control of your time and your limits and really getting the understanding of those limits is so important. And I really like that you're saying that because indeed, to get that creativity and inspiration, you also need to make sure that you recover. And the best athletes of the world always recover. They always have those very powerful recovery days. So we all should be also looking at that as the productivity tip in the way as well.
Absolutely. I don't know. By the way, I don't know, Lena, if you read this book, but I want to read that. It's called Slow Productivity.
I haven't, but I've heard about it.
Yeah, maybe on this week when I will be slow, I will be reading a book about slow productivity. Gosh, Kate, can you just not think about productivity when you're taking time off, right? I will.
Yeah. Well, but if you do read that, looking forward to hear the tips. But also sometimes it's good just to be slow, productive with doing nothing.
By the way, what I also realized last year, just short announcement. I'm quite slow. When it comes to creating something, I'm quite slow. And, instead of pushing myself, being faster, doing things faster, I just accepted that as creative people sometimes are very slow. Like to create a painting, I am actually drawing some stuff here from time to time. It can take enormous amount of time. And instead of pushing you out of that feeling or like out of this creative flow, just enjoy it, just be there, just be slow. And sometimes I'm just saying like, okay, just be slow, write this down slowly, do this slowly, create this course material slowly instead of just doing things in a rush. Because you are in a rush, I'm personally not enjoying the feeling of being in a rush. And yeah, pretty hard to combine it with the reality of building the business. But yeah, anyways.
I love this advice though. We always hear like, this is how you can be faster. This is how you can push through more things. This is how you can stretch your day. But being slow also means really raising quality of the work that you do and raising the level of intentionality that you put into that work because you simply have this resource of time. So I really love that you're saying that. And this is something that I personally want to learn. I speak fast, I think fast, I do things fast, but then also I have to fix a lot of problems that come out of very fast work. I love what you say. So in this intentional, full of big dreams and beautiful things that coming up for Growthmates as well, I'm curious, any kind of things that you really like, some of the areas even, in your personal and professional life that you want to prioritize and put forward to make all these things happen for yourself in the next year?
Oh, so many priorities. But here on that note, actually, because I have a system for everything, probably just for myself, I'm this type of person who just cannot work without having some personal system. When it comes to priorities, I'm using sort of the format similar to OKRs, but for personal priorities. And I have basically two buckets of things I'm thinking about. There are things connected to my personal growth, and there are things connected to my professional growth. There is always overlap, but I've put first personal growth maybe, and there are different elements that I prioritize there. So this is going to be a lot about self-development and individualization in a way, understanding my value system even better, understanding my deepest understanding of my mission, of my definition of success, And I'm actually going to work with a coach next year on that angle. I'm working with a psychotherapist. I mentioned this many times for more than 4 years, but it's a bit different self-development thing. And I would like to connect that with my business. So this is where I want to work with a coach. So turning my value system into business value system and like thinking of that as more like synergy between these two. The second element in personal growth is health, like, of course, healthy lifestyle, nutrition, physical exercise, double down on that. My family, spending time with my husband, spending time with my family who is far away, and just finding opportunities to meet somehow. Hobbies, education. So thinking of areas where I would like to educate myself and just enjoy some parts of life more. Like I love art. So this year I really unpacked that love. I really started going to all possible exhibitions, museum, collecting things, creating things. So I want to keep doing that. And so I think environment both about social environment and physical environment. So here I decorated my space this year and a lot of plants here in my apartment. But now I'm also thinking a lot about the social connections. So having friendships, having closer, deeper connections with people who inspire me, but who also are very different from different angles of my personality, with whom I can find different connections and, just supporting each other, but also expanding that more into the role models probably, but not in a way that I would like to copy paste that or they would like to copy paste me, but more about supportive role models, like having people who are also passionate about building something, starting things from scratch. Because in reality, in friendships, it's probably the theme for another conversation, but it's something that is beautiful when you are growing also in friendships and synergy, and you see how your friends are growing. And I would dream of building a business with a friend, and maybe even with my husband, but it's still, I will be asking Mary probably next time on my podcast, who built a business with her husband, how to do that. It's difficult. So it's a lot of things on the personal growth bucket, and the professional growth is more about really things connected to the business and priorities connected to business. You mentioned like I have so many things going on. I agree with you. I need to still prioritize them, but I will be prioritizing them not just through the pure consciousness, right? So like if I would do that, I would say I will keep doing growth advising forever. Because if I would look at my income sources, this is the biggest income source. I would prioritize things next from enjoyment and from scalability. So I'm not scalable in growth advising forever. I can book my whole calendar and will be very financially like feeling good, but it doesn't give me that level of enjoyment as some other sorts of activities. But it's just different types of enjoyment. I cannot imagine myself doing growth advising full time. It's impossible. Nobody is doing that. It's too heavy job. I cannot imagine doing that even 80% of my time, just focusing and becoming like a pure growth advisor, because I think I realized one thing. You can have knowledge. You can help others apply this knowledge on their products, but it's not yours. It's not something you have built, you have created. It's not your baby. It's like somebody else's baby. And I would like to help others to build things, to be creative, to create better products, meaningful products, higher quality products that will grow. But I would like to do something tangible from my end. This is why I have the podcast. This is why I have this website. I just like having some tangible artifacts out of what I'm creating. And I would be prioritizing these things more and more. And maybe on that note, I can also maybe share some sneak peeks of what's going to be next, some early announcements, but still work in progress,
Please share. What do you have going on?
Sure. So I think one of the things I'm really like right now thinking about and like working a lot, this is going to be direction of Growthmates courses. And I'm saying not just a course. It's gonna start from a course, but I see like how like a bigger potential there. So the first one is gonna start in February next year, and still defining the topic, but of course it's gonna be the intersection of product-led growth and user centricity, and how to mix both to create best products, and a lot of practices knowledge that I've gained from my experience, but also collected from Growthmates network. So this is going to be the educational element that I think I would like to really double down on in Growthmates, under Growthmates umbrella. And we have another interesting announcement with Lana actually on that note. It's about like also interesting collaborations and how you can create some smaller formats, but still very valuable formats for specific topics, specific problems. Lena, do you want to share something about that?
Absolutely. Also something that came out of just as a online conversation between us. But yes, next year in January, we're going to be kicking off our big Your Next Career Step self-reflection course, right? So it's going to be a product design career accelerator specifically for senior product designers, staff product designers, lead product designers, maybe product design managers, of course, as well. And Kate and I are going to be really encouraging and helping those folks to think, what is the next step? How does it look like? How does the path look like, at least for a couple years? But not only reflecting and creating this space to understand what should be the next step, but also how to get there. And I think that's the most valuable part as well of really pushing it into action, because we're going to be helping creating goals and creating like the measurement system around them, plus the case studies that help in your promotion conversations or in your application conversations. And I really love that we bring in this very mixed experience together. You as a ex-design leader and the hiring manager, me as a recruiter in design. So there's a lot of perspective that we can share to really make it very successful for those who take in that.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking about that, and I would love to make it happen. Like it's just one of these mission elements, right? So helping others navigate their careers, regardless of like how extreme the consequences of that can be. It can mean like you would like to reshape your current role in a way internally. It can mean that you would like to explore it somewhere else, or it might end up like you would have an inspiration or even a plan towards building something on your own, and nobody knows. But our goal is to navigate you through that and like really share some practical stories, some real stories, some mistakes, or like formats even that can help you get there. So I'm super excited about that, and looking forward to making it happen. And the last, probably but not the least, announcement, I'm looking a little bit festive, I think, like with this upcoming holiday season, but Growthmates also need some time off. And I need some time off, like at least several weeks to prepare for the amazing new season. And the new season should start at the end of January, but we will be sharing updates everywhere. So please follow this show everywhere you can, or where you're listening to that. It can help you uncover when the new season comes out. And we will be doubling down a lot of things, quality wise, guests, and dreaming big about the future of Growthmates podcast. So please stay with us, stay tuned, stay patient a bit, and wait for the new season. It's gonna take just a month. You can listen to our old episodes while you're waiting. Yeah. So thank you, Lena, so much for, I don't know how to even phrase that, for being a host, but it doesn't reflect all the things I want to say, for being such a reliable and gentle person in this conversation. And yeah, I think this is amazing that we have done that. Really appreciate that, and looking forward to our next year where we both gonna be, and check back again on this show as well, how it's going on for both of us.
Absolutely. And Kate, I want to thank you as well for, this beautiful idea as well of coming and being so vulnerable and so open on your own show. I can imagine that it's not necessarily maybe even easy and being on the other end of that microphone. So thank you so much for giving all of us this opportunity to get to know you a little bit better.
Oh, thank you so much. I've been feeling quite nervous this morning about that, but yeah, now I feel good that we have made that. So everyone, happy holidays. Enjoy your time. Create space for you for self-reflection. Use the template that we will attach to the show notes and get prepared to meet us back in the next year. Cheers.
Thank you for listening. Subscribe to the show on growthmates.club and get free playbook with frameworks and insights. If you find this valuable, please share it with your friends and colleagues and subscribe to the show on your favorite platforms to get new episodes. Let's keep growing together.